What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Establish Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, here with Mike Gallagher. Welcome to tonight's 9-game slate in the association. A slate with plenty of questionable tags and injury notes, including our own Mike Gallagher, who is listed available COVID protocols. Mike, I am imploring you not to be doing these shows and not working, but you are still here for the people. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. Got a little positive test last night, but powering through. Got matchups up today. We'll see if I can get it up tomorrow, but feeling okay. Excited to talk through it. Did most of the prep for this already, so excited to talk through. Hopefully my voice can hang around for what hopefully won't be an hour.
Yeah, no, we'll go as quickly as we can here, possibly. Just be aware if you're a subscriber that we might not have matchups tomorrow. We'll alert everybody on the plans there. Let's get into this stuff game by game. Let's start with New Orleans and Washington. On the New Orleans side of things, they're without Larry Nance Jr., Matt Ryan, Darion Sebron. Listed available as Cody Zeller, and the big Q tag with Zion Williamson due to a left ankle sprain. What are your notes on Zion and the Pels today?
Yeah, so Zion rolled his ankle with about 5 minutes left in the last game, and he was able to play through it. So it sounds pretty minor, but it's Zion. They are always erring on the side of caution, so I could definitely see him missing here. If he's in there, I don't think it would affect his minutes because it was a pretty minor tweak. And he was, when you roll your ankle, you're going to limp a little bit, but he looked like he kind of was able to work through it. But again, he wouldn't be surprised to see him sit. I would assume they would start Trey Murphy there. Najee Marshall would see a nice increase in minutes. Obviously, Jonas Valanciunas would also really benefit here. They would probably bring Jordan Hawkins in the rotation as well to help Dyson Daniels. But I think he's got a good chance to play. But again, it's Zion, so he could definitely sit.
All right, Washington side of things, Daniel Gafford listed questionable here. They're without Johnny Davis, Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, Ryan Rollins. Gafford missed the last game against Joel Embiid. Another big center on the docket today with Jonas Valanciunas. What are your notes on Gafford?
Ruled out pretty early with that hip thing that we talked about last time, so I could definitely see him missing. Don't really have much information other than the fall he had a couple games ago. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go small here if they don't have him. We saw them go with Mike Muscala against Joel Embiid, so I could see them going with Bilal Coulibaly here and starting Kuzma at the 5, which is pretty dangerous against Valanciunas. But I think it's on the cards. But I think they would still probably start Muscala, but it would just be a way shorter, way lower upside kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine this also depends a little bit on Zion's availability too. If Zion is available and Joe Val's there, it's really hard to go small because it's like two giant human beings that you're trying to avoid from getting to the rim. So in those instances, it might be more Muscala if they're both, if Zion's available and Gafford's out. If Zion's unavailable and Gafford's out, I could see them potentially going small, as you alluded to. All right, Philadelphia and Detroit. I think we can skip right past Philadelphia. They have nothing on the injury report to note there. Detroit side of things, they're without Marvin Bagley, without Jalen Duren, Monty Morris, Jared Roden, Stanley Umude, so they don't have their G League guys. Huge spread in this game, so lots of blowout risk. What are your expectations for Detroit? Do we continue to see Isaiah Stewart starting at center?
Oh man, these ESPN box scores have sound on them now. It's driving me crazy. As if things weren't bad enough. So we saw them start Stewart, and then we saw that same starting 5 with Boyan at the 4. They're going to run Killian out there with Cade, who's playing a lot better lately. So would expect pretty much a similar outcome. Monty is trying to tighten his rotation, and I think he's kind of figuring things out to up Jaden Ivey's minutes. Those are kind of things we're kind of weighing here.
All right, let's move to Atlanta and Toronto. On the Atlanta side of things, DeAndre Hunter listed questionable with that right knee soreness again. Trae Young popping up on the injury report as probable with right shoulder soreness. What are your notes on the Hawks?
Yeah, so I think that Trae Young actually hurt his shoulder right before he got ejected, but probable, should be good to go. He plays through a lot of stuff, so I expect him to go. Talked about DeAndre Hunter's injury. I know it's this right quad tendon that's been bothering him for a lot in his career, so could see him missing again. We saw Garrison Matthews start the last game. If Hunter did sit, A, that would make Pascal Siakam's matchup a lot better. But B, I would expect them to start Garrison Matthews again.
Yeah, and Garrison Matthews started that game, but Bogdanovic, played the starters levels minutes and kind of closed. And we also saw them, which they did not play in the first half. We did not see the overlap between Capella and Okongwu very much in the first half. Did see it to close the game in the fourth quarter. So that was interesting as well. A matchup with Toronto that actually has a little bit more size than the last time out. So we could see more of that overlap too if DeAndre Hunter is unable to go. Something to pay attention to there. All right. Side of things, they have Chris Boucher listed questionable along with Otto Porter Jr. No other injury reports notes here, but what are your thoughts on Chris Boucher and Otto Porter Jr. and their availability tonight?
Got to switch to NBA.com box scores now. So I don't think Otto plays. I don't think Boucher plays. They both missed practice yesterday, so that would probably get Grady Dick in the rotation. Other than that, that would help Gary Trent Jr.'s minutes a little bit. And also, again, more pressure from the media to change this starting lineup. They Darko had said they want to give him 1 or 2 more games before they switch it because the guys promised to play better. In the last 10 games among the lineups with 50-plus minutes, they're the worst lineup in the NBA. They've been really bad. So certainly warranted to change lineups, expected to stick. But, again, on red alert for a lineup change.
I just love the idea that we gotta we gotta play better, guys. We promise we'll play better. Don't bench me yet. I promise. Just Dennis Schroeder. Look what I promised, Darko. I promise I will play better. Oh, that's a tough scene. All right, let's move to Charlotte and Miami. On the Charlotte side of things, still without LaMelo Ball, without Cody Martin, without the G Leaguers today, and Mark Williams listed doubtful. So expecting Nick Richards to start once again. A repeat matchup of the matchup that they played last time against Miami, but this time in Miami. What are your notes on the Hornets?
Yeah, so we saw a pretty tight rotation again. So let's start with that. And if not for some quick Miles Bridges fouls, it might have been even tighter because they brought JT Thorne early. So I wouldn't be surprised if they run it real tight here, which should be great for all the starters. Maybe I could see Miles Bridges touching like upper 30s. We've seen Rozier hit like 40 on the reg. 9.2 minutes of touch time in the last game, 19 potential assists, killed us on an under, which we're going to run it back again. Bryce McGowan's kind of been one of the clear bench guys along with PJ Washington. And PJ Washington was trending for light minutes kind of at half, but they were falling behind and they ran him out there, which is going to happen again here with a little bit of a bigger spread. So I think PJ is pretty secure. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd run this pretty tight here with Mark Williams dealing with this back thing that he can't shake. He returned from it last week, and then he's out again for what looks like multiple games. Doubtful tag, but expecting to miss.
Yep. Heat side of things, the injury report is still full here. No Bam Adebayo, no Tyler Hero, no Haywood Highsmith, Nikola Jovic on G League assignment. They're going to have Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson listed as available, but Josh Richardson showed up as questionable with this non-COVID illness. These same-day illness tags, usually not a good sign. Even the ETR guys can play through them, but I don't know if the NBA player guys can. So what are your notes on Josh Richardson's availability tonight?
Yeah, a little harder to play NBA basketball than to talk about it, as Klay Thompson will certainly tell you. Which he's definitely right. He's had these headaches before. I want to say I don't have this information, but I want to say he's for sure had this before. But I want to say he's been like hit or miss. So again, midday illness tags are generally pretty bad. So I would lean on an out situation. I think they would go to RJ Hampton. They just need ball handling. He's kind of slotted in that role. It would probably be real tight. We could see some huge minutes out of some guys. And we saw Caleb play a ton. He had the Rozier matchup. Jimmy could play more. He was guarding Hayward. Hayward is guarding him as well. Kyle Lowry's minutes would be really safe here. He might be able to touch mid-30s, maybe even upper 30s if they did run it tight there. But, yeah, I think there's a good chance they can miss. They could bring in Jamal Cain just to get another body in there.
Yeah. Yeah, the ball the ceiling minutes on Kyle Lowry would go up to in this scenario because of the lack of ball handling. We did see him play 35. We can see those minutes yo-yo around, but if Richardson were to miss, he's got to be a little bit more secure and probably staggered away from Jimmy a little bit more, because even if they do play RJ Hampton, they probably want one of Kyle or Jimmy on the floor with an RJ Hampton to help out on a ball handling side of things. Indiana and Milwaukee. Indiana side still no Andrew Nembhard or Jalen Smith. Without the G Leaguers, no other Q tags to note here. Any notes on Indiana?
No, just Aaron Nesmith played through a hip thing. Obviously, no Andrew Nembhard. That really helped out Ben Mathurin in a big way. I think Bruce Brown's going to have to play a lot here. They just need the on-ball defense for Dame, so I could see Bruce Brown's minutes getting kind of elevated, because we saw Andrew Nembhard in the tournament game get a huge rotation in the second half before he messed up his knee. So I think Bruce Brown's kind of a low-key beneficiary here. I would expect Ben Mathurin to take a little bit of a step back after the big game last time.
All right, Milwaukee side, they're still without Pat Connaughton, Jay Crowder. Everything else is the same here. We did see that Chris Middleton's minutes limit. This is the one note that I wanted to give, and then I'll let you if you have anything. Yeah. But Chris Middleton's minutes limit did stay elevated in that, he played into overtime. They let him go 30 plus minutes last game against the Bulls. So I think we're in the clear on Chris Middleton stuff. I had some hesitation that post in season tournament, we might see things kind of revert back to like 25, 26 minutes. He was pretty full. So I think we're in the clear on Chris Middleton stuff. Unless we see him on the injury report with the Bucks, you never know. So, keep your eyes peeled, but I think we're good there. All right, let's move to Lakers and San Antonio. Lakers have not submitted yet. I would expect to see a very full. Okay. So I will pull that. They have submitted with questionable tags Jared Vanderbilt, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, all listed questionable here. What are your expectations on the second night of a back-to-back here for the Lakers after an overtime loss where guys played very full minutes? They get the Spurs, who have lost a billion games in a row. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, definitely. I think Anthony Davis. Well, actually, I take that back. Jared Vanderbilt's probably most likely to miss. I mentioned last time on the show he has a back injury that he had in February, so I could see him missing. Got ruled out, a little bit later than I thought. So maybe he's back, maybe he's not. But I think he's got a good chance to miss. AD was limping a lot in the first half. I thought he was going to maybe tap out, but I honestly think he's missing. It feels like that he shouldn't play here, given how he's had this before too. We know he's listed with a bunch, so I think they sit out AD. LeBron came out okay. Played a bunch of minutes, obviously, with the 40, but I think he's okay. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays, but again, it's San Antonio. They're playing pretty well right now, despite the loss. I think there's a chance he sits, but again, I think AD and Vanderbilt are on the closer side of no, and I think LeBron's like kind of 50-50, but wouldn't be surprised to see him sit.
All right. Spurs, there's nothing really on the injury report to talk through here. I know they've been kind of moving the starting lineup around. We saw Malachi Branham have more of a ball handling role last game than we took an under on his very low assist line, and he had 14 potentials. That ended up being a very, very bad bet. Any other notes on the Spurs before we move to Memphis and Houston?
No, just Zach Collins was at a shoot around today, and he basically talked about how this is going to stick, it sounds like. We know we had that kind of that break from what was it, like Friday to Wednesday, and we saw them change their lineup, and then they changed it again. So I think they're going to stick with it. They went with this twice now, so I think this is kind of here to stay. Malachi Branham, just a ton of minutes here, like way more than we're used to, because he was playing so well, one of his best games. Pop seemed pretty happy with how they played. He talked about how they just missed shots. They shot terribly from three. So I think they're going to run it back. Trey Jones is just not getting minutes. Pretty sad. And then Zach Collins lost his overlap, most of it. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Zach Collins was asked about it. It sounds like he's kind of comfortable with it. And he almost feels like it's deserved he lost his spot because they're playing so poorly with all these losses.
Yep. All right, Memphis and Houston. On the Memphis side of things, the injury report's always full, but it's even a little bit more full today as Desmond Bane was added midday, questionable tag with an illness. Always a big concern here. They are also without Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, John Morant, and Marcus Smart. What are your notes on the Grizzlies?
Yeah, we saw a lineup change. We'll start with that. We saw Santi Aldama start at the 4. I think that was matchup related. They went up against Luka after the game. Taylor Jenkins said it was because that they like that combo. I don't know. I feel like against Şengün, they go back to Bismack here, but I wouldn't be surprised if they stick with it. Again, they've got Ja on the horizon. He's going to make his season debut Tuesday, assuming he's doesn't do anything else. But yeah, and then let's talk about Desmond Bane. My God. If they don't have Bane, they're screwed. I actually fired at Rockets -6 when I saw that Q tag come across. I kind of liked them anyways, just because their interior defense is really good. I think they match up pretty well with them. They held them like 81 or something earlier this year. So yeah, if Bane doesn't play, I think they're going to need offense like really bad. So I think they would actually start Jalen Noel, which that's dangerous for their defensive backcourt as well. There's really no way you could cut it. Like I think Conchar and Noel are the two candidates. Maybe they go to Zaire. He's had some handling, but he's so buried. So yeah, I think it's Noel starting if he can't go, and then I think it could be Conchar. At least he has a little bit of handling there. But they are in dire straits. If Bane doesn't play, I don't know how this team scores 100.
Yeah, I kind of think it would be one of the wings that would start, just because you got to kind of separate Rose and Noel to have somebody that can handle the ball and maybe create their own shot in the two different units. And you can overlap them a little bit to like close or different things like that. But if they start Noel, imagine that there would be a pretty staggered rotation between him and Rose, because Gilliard was not it from like a ball handling initiation kind of standpoint. So it would be a really messy situation with a team that has very volatile minutes patterns in total. Houston side of things, Tari Eason listed questionable, Amen Thompson listed questionable, illness on Amen Thompson after he just returned. Tari played through this questionable tag with the left lower leg soreness and was awesome last game. 18 and 10, just an incredible effort from him. What are your notes on the Rockets?
Yeah, so I was fumbling around the last time we talked about Tari Eason. I am prepared today. This is the same left leg that cost him the start of the season. So, I think he's going to be good to go. You know, he was out there warming up normal. We mentioned how he played so well. So, yeah, I think he's good to go. Certainly don't disregard that Q tag yet. You know, we know Houston doesn't play the fake Q tag game, but this definitely feels like he's going to be out there.
Yep. All right, Brooklyn and Phoenix. On the Brooklyn side of things, still no Dennis Smith Jr. or Lonnie Walker. They are on the front end of a back-to-back. They're one of the few teams that are on the front end of a back-to-back here, going into Phoenix. A little bit of a tough spot, though. They're catching Phoenix on the back end of a back-to-back. What are your notes on the Nets without Lonnie Walker and Dennis Smith Jr. today?
The only note I have here is keep an eye on a lineup change. Kevin Durant expected to play today. You got Bradley Beal, you got Devin Booker. That's a lot of offense. So it makes sense to me that you would pull out Cam Thomas and insert Dorian Finney-Smith. So I'd be on the lookout for that. And then the other note, cover boy for me in matchups is Mikal Bridges. There was quotes against, like when they couldn't beat the Hawks that they would want to let Mikal go. He wants to beat this team, man. I think Mikal could play like 42, 44 and just play a ton here. I'm fully buying into the revenge game narrative. I like the matchup. They're out of. We'll talk about the Suns on the other side, but I think the matchup was fantastic, and I'm digging the revenge game today.
Nice. Phoenix, they had not submitted at the 130. I don't believe they've submitted just yet. What are your notes on Phoenix, who were obviously without Kevin Durant? Last night on the broadcast, they were saying that they think he's probably going to miss tonight as well, that he might target a Friday return, but that was kind of up in the air. What are your notes here on Phoenix?
It sounds like he may have a chance to play here. We'll see. I think he would be pretty full off an ankle injury. He rolled that ankle last Tuesday, played through it at first, so I think he could go. Grayson's still expected to miss. Bradley Beal expected to go, came out okay after the back injury. A decent role for Bradley Beal. He had, I think, 7 or 8 pick and roll handler possessions to take some pressure off Booker. Mid upper 20s. Shout out to Jared Greenberg, said high 20s, and he was right on that. So I think he's going to be in there. So yeah, I think they could start all these guys maybe for the first time. Booker said after the game that it could be happening soon here. And then Josh Okogie is a huge deal here. We saw Jordan Goodwin play a lot in the second half, 17 second half minutes. Eric Gordon wasn't it. I still think Gordon would probably start here, and that's why I like Mikal so much. They just don't have anybody who could guard. They're out of on-ball defenders now for guards, so I think he's in a pretty good spot, but could see some pretty condensed minutes.
The one thing I note about Goodwin, that felt very, very matchup specific with Steph.
Yep.
I don't know that we'd see that same rotation pattern with almost anybody else. I think they just didn't feel like they had anybody that could chase Steph around screens. And so because that's not really Eric Gordon's thing as a defender. He's a little bit more of kind of a bigger defender. So I think that was a little bit motivated by the matchup. Certainly it's nice to see that as far as like guard, defender, pecking order stuff, they seem to have Goodwin kind of next. But I also think it was specifically due to how to guard Steph Curry that Goodwin was more suitable to do than anyone else they had, because the other options there are asking Bradley Beal or Devin Booker to chase through screens, and that's just asking a whole lot while they're having to carry the offense as well.
And let me go over some of the KD stuff really quick, just to go over the timeline. I was I may have been a little confusing there. So Jared Greenberg reported he was expected to play today. Then Vogel kind of poured some cold water on it, and he said that it's probably more likely Friday. So you got a little bit of reporting and a little bit of coach speak tied in there. So usually we the reporting, honestly. Yeah. So I think he's a little bit more likely in than out. But again, we have him in the projections because we have to feel pretty strongly about that. But yeah, definitely a tough way to lean for sure on regardless.
Yep. Yeah, the broadcast seemed pretty unclear. They said basically
Yeah.
were saying during the game that they're confident in Friday, but they're unclear on today, and so we'll just wait and see. New York and Utah on the New York side of things. Emmanuel quickly missed last game. He's questionable. Right knee inflammation. Mitchell Robinson going to be out a long time. Jalen Brunson off the injury report after being on the injury report last game with a questionable tag. What are your notes on quickly and the rest of the Knicks?
Yeah, we saw Tom Thibodeau subscribes to the solver. He was using the Sims. That with Jericho Sims in the starting lineup. He loves that dude, but still should be Isaiah Hartenstein getting the lion's share. And the other note, matchup wise, they were not good on. I know it's a 1-game sample, but it just makes sense that you take Mitch out. Their rim defense really fell off. Their rebounding really fell off. Mitch made a huge impact. So I think that this team, which was a stay away for front court players, is now a team you could kind of go after a little bit. Yeah, IQ, maybe he's back. They kind of it seems like it's pretty minor, so he could return. That would obviously take Deuce McBride out. Jalen Brunson came out okay after playing 38 minutes from that ankle tweak that we saw. Roll was way down, and they actually put Dennis Schroeder on him, not OG, for what it's worth. It was Randall who had that matchup actually, and he actually smashed it. So props to Randall there. But I'm expecting. I think IQ's got a chance to go, but if he's not, they'll be okay, and they'll play more Josh Hart and those guys. And Quinn Grimes.
Really favorable matchup, obviously, against Utah here. Yeah. So, with the way Tibbs is willing to play guys deep into games, with how well Utah usually plays at home, and Utah getting some pieces back today. We'll talk about that here in a second. Would expect pretty good offensive outputs from some of the Knicks players today. And we know that Randall, Brunson, Barrett, those are the guys that you're going to be most interested in finding ceiling from. All right, Utah side of things, they're still without Jordan Clarkson and John Collins, but they get upgraded tags, probable tags for Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. Those are big additions potentially to the front court here, which has been a struggle for them of late. What's your expectation in terms of what we see from a rotation and starting lineup with all these moving pieces from Utah?
Yeah, so we know most of the starting lineup. We know Keontae George is going to start for sure. We know Lauri's going to start for sure. We should probably think Walker Kessler is going to start. We saw him kind of lose it to Omer Yurtseven for way too often, but we saw him get that starting job back. So I feel pretty good about that. Feel pretty good about Simone Fontecchio getting the start here. They like his defense. I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up Jalen Brunson, which is kind of weird. We saw him guard Luka. He guarded Brandon Ingram. He's guarded a lot of really good wings, and they trust him. And there was commentary from Will Hardy that they do. So kind of weird, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do that because Ochai Agbaji doesn't guard on ball. He's a chase defender. So, he's not a guy who would normally pick up the Jalen Brunson matchup. So, I wrote him out. I'm a little uneasy on the Agbaji stuff. We have to kind of give him credit because he's been starting, but I won't be surprised if they call on Taylor Horton-Tucker or Chris Dunn to fill in and guard Brunson just because he's such a downhill scorer. So I don't think it's really Fontecchio's kind of defense. So, again, just to reiterate, so I think it's Keontae George, Ochai Agbaji, not confident. Simone Fontecchio, Lauri, Walker Kessler. Certainly we'll see Taylor Hendricks. He's kind of locked in. They're playing him a bunch. Taylor Horton-Tucker, Colin Sexton, and I think Chris Dunn's in, and then I think Yurts and Kelly Olynyk, I should have mentioned. I think that's it. I don't really think we see Yurt 7. I think Samanic is kind of bye-bye.
Okay. And do you think the Taylor Hendricks minutes are good to go from here on out? If everybody's healthy? Okay. Because they've had so many guys out, but I was surprised this season when the season started and he was just not even close to the rotation, straight in the G League. Because I really like the prospect quite a bit. I know Keontae George was garnering more of the attention during summer league and preseason, but was wondering if you think when everybody's healthy, if he's got a full rotation spot going forward.
Yeah, I think so. There is pressure. The Athletic wrote that there's pressure from the front office to play him. Really high pick. So I think he's kind of in there. There's ways around it, right? You could just. We saw them playing Agbaji at the 4 in the preseason.
Yeah,
there's ways to fill the 4 minutes. So that's when they were healthy. So I think he's kind of here to stay.
Okay, cool. All right, that'll do it for an abbreviated edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Big shout out and thanks to Mike Gallagher for making it through for you guys. I would love Mike Gallagher to get some more rest and hopefully feel better. We will we'll take care of the shows without him if we need to the rest of the week. But thanks to you all for listening. If you are enjoying the content that we're putting out here, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going for 5,000 subscribers by the end of NBA season, so we need your help. Appreciate you subscribing to the channel, get notifications whenever we go live. If you're interested in supporting our paid content behind the paywall, you can check us out at establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more information on the packages we offer. These packages will be coming with holiday discounted pricing within the next 10 days, within the next week to 10 days. We will keep you updated when that does happen, but all the information on those packages, if you want to be ready to purchase when the prices go down, are available on establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more information. If you are interested in supporting this free content, you need to help feed the algorithm. It's what helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to make your spread bets, your prop bets, set your DFS lineups, your regular season-long lineups, so on and so forth. So the way to feed that algorithm is to smash that like button. Make sure you push it down, hold it longingly, gently caress it, smash it, whatever you need to do to that like button. Make sure it goes down so it helps feed the algorithm. We'll allow you to feed the algorithm while we feed ourselves, and hopefully Mike Gallagher feeds himself some rest. Nom nom nom, nappy nappy time. We'll see you tomorrow.